They may have slightly overlapped. There's no evidence I can find directly that they met, but that Blake was working for a radical publisher called Johnson in London, who published Godwin, who also published Tom Paine and Mary Wollstonecraft, and it was through Joseph Johnson's evenings that Godwin met Tom Paine and Mary Wollstonecraft for the first time. In fact, he says that he wanted to talk to Tom Paine, yet he ended up talking to Mary Wollstonecraft. But in the end, and as far as Blake's concerned, that Blake knew Johnson, and he also illustrated a work on education for Mary Wollstonecraft. So I can't remember the exact title of the work.
Was that before she was married to?
That was before she met Godwin, yeah. And before they had Mary Shelley, or Mary Wollstonecraft Shelley.
It's a simple thing. I always thought the dark satanic mills referred, I mean this is obviously stupid, referred to the church rather than the mills. Is that wrong, or, I mean...
Well, I think that you can, I mean, I've seen, most people see them as factories, don't they, belching black smoke. But it could also be to deal with the church.
Right.
I mean, he does use this image of the wheel, and wheel within wheels, as being entirely negative, and grinding away, you know.
Well, I read somewhere that it was in fact the Albion, which is a huge bread factory, you know, a mill, just by near Waterloo and the other one, Blackfriars Bridge. And
it's a specific factory.
Yeah, which put all the millers out of business, and then it burnt down, and it was left for years and years, black and red. And he used to walk to Joseph Johnson past this satanic mill.
Yes, so we're referring here, if you can hear, that maybe when the famous line in Dark Satanic Mills, it could refer to a specific place, to a massive bread factory or wheat factory. Mill. But I think as a poet, you know, all these particular experience or particular objects is transformed into something much more universal and cosmic. So I think you can put your interpretation on it really in the broadest sense. I think you can have poetic license in how you respond to that phrase. I mean, I certainly had this vision, you know, of the new industrial age, you know, that may well have been destroying England's green and pleasant land.
Was there a suggestion also that you refer to the wheels of logic?
And the wheels of logic?
Wheels of logic.
Yes, yes, certainly.
Well, you had most books.
Yeah, exactly. To the sort of Newtonian way of thinking, as he saw it. Yeah, the wheels of logic, certainly. Which, when his view of reason, I don't think he just felt that the mechanical, analytical reason was very negative. I don't think he was saying that all reason's wrong, but I think it needs to be married with the imagination and becoming much more creative. So there's a sort of creative reason, or even perhaps intuitive reason, which is I think acceptable, but not this analytical, mechanical way of weighing and measuring and breaking down the world, which he saw Newton doing. Sorry?
This whole idea of the dividers.
Exactly.
Only what is measured.
Exactly. And he who sees the ratio only sees himself. Yeah. And the Newtonian figure is lost in a sea of matter, you know, in a sea of the figure leaning down. It's almost as if he's underwater, because it's all very green around him. But it's the opposite of this transformed image on the book of Albion rising from his chains. And that would be the chains, I think, the physical chains holding him in the mills, but also the mind-forged manacles, which he's freed from, you know, and then can clear his doors of perception, and which have been clogged up, you know, with unfortunate education and experiences in this world. But he does always believe in this possibility of transforming oneself and society and one's own mind, which I think is very inspiring and also true.
Do you think that he was so ahead of his time that he would have been quite a lonely kind of person? You know, nobody bought anything from his exhibition. Do you think that he just had to, perhaps with the support of his wife and one or two friends, he kind of had to keep on? Is that the kind of view?
Well, that's the impression I get, that he did live, he had a small group of friends, particularly this group of painters towards the end of his life who recognised his importance as a painter and engraver. But his works didn't sell, and he did live in poverty, in comparative poverty and obscurity for most of his life, which must have been a great disappointment in some ways. But it was the same thing happened to Godwin and other radicals. But as Godwin put it, that after the declaration of war on France, revolutionary France, that by the turn of the century, the turn of the 19th century, that Godwin himself had fallen in one common grave with liberty. And I think Blake had as well, and that partly explains why Blake started developing this very, I think he always expressed himself like the tradition he stood in biblical language and symbolism. So for him, the Babylon versus Jerusalem. But he also developed these allegories in his prophetic writings and his own characters within it. That's, I think, partly to obscure his message because of being dangerous to express views against the government or against the war at the time. You could be either sent off to Botany Bay, or, as many radicals were, or even be tried for treason, which almost happened to Blake. Well, he was tried for treason.